I wanted to cover the mail merge process in Word, at least briefly, and the steps that you will take through the mail merge process. So the first step is to choose the type of document. So in most cases it will be a letter, but it could be other types of documents. And then you choose what will be your starting document. So a lot of times you'll have that document already open. So for example, it might be a letter, which is a template letter to your customers, for example. So that's the document that you want to use as your starting document. Then you need to select the recipient file. And the recipient file is the file of recipients that will receive your document. So you can type that data into Word at that particular point in the mail merge process, or you can use an existing file such as an Excel file that will include the data. So for example, in Excel, each row might be the customer's data. Okay, so what you'll do is take that starting document that's a template, and you will merge the file from Excel, for example, so that it will provide a letter with the customer information embedded in the letter. So for example, if you have 100 customers, you'll have 100 letters. Okay, couple of hints here. In this step, you want to make sure that the recipient file is closed before merging the data into the letter. You can also sort and filter data from the recipient file in this step. And then you can also add data during this step. So it's pretty flexible in what you can do with the data at this point, and you'll also see a preview of the data. The next step, in number 4, is to actually write the letter. So let's say, for example, if you have a letter, you would add field codes into the starting document. So your field codes are actual fields that can be updated with data. And it could be including the greeting line, such as Dear Mr. Smith. It can include the date or other field codes from which you could pull data from the recipient file. So for example, it could be last name, first name, and so forth. So what you would want to do is make sure that the column headings in your Excel file, for example, would match match the field names that would be used in Word. So for example, if you're pulling in the last name from Excel or the first name, you would want to make sure that your column headings would include first name or last name so that the Word mail merge would recognize those and be able to pull in that data into your starting letter. So you can also add customized fields, or you can match fields. So for example, if you didn't have last name in your Excel file, then you could, let's say for example, if you had customer name, customer last name, customer first name, then what you could do is match the last name field code in Word to the customer last name, for example, in the Excel file. So you'll add those field codes into the Word letter, and then you'll go to the place in the Word letter where you want to insert the field code, and then in the mail merge process, you would click on the field code that you would like to add. In previewing the letters, you want to check any spacing to make sure that everything is correct and make edits there as needed. You also want to make sure that the data is pulled in correctly from the recipient file, and just double check that to make sure that everything looks accurate. At this point, you want to make sure that if there are any errors in your document that you correct those errors. Otherwise, if you have, for example, 100 customers, you would have to go in and edit each letter for each customer to correct those errors after you've completed the merge. So that's not really feasible. You could just redo the merge, which would be fun after you make the errors, but it's just easier at this point to go ahead and correct any errors. So the last step is to complete the merge, and you have to be really careful here because the last step, even though it says complete the merge, you have to go in and choose the option to edit individual letters. That will actually complete the merge for you. Once you've done that, it will create a new document called Letters 1, for example. And in this document, it will have all of the merged letters, and you'll have one letter, for example, for each customer. So if you have 100 customers, you would have 100 letters in this file. You can go in and save the merged file if you want to, but you don't have to because you can always merge the documents again. And especially if you add data to the recipient file, then you would want to go in and complete the merge again to pull in that new data. And then you'll have the template letter file saved separately, and it will be saved separately from the merged file. So in that case, you'll have the template so that you can go back and merge the data. So that's a quick overview of the mail merge process in Word.